Test, test. Hey, groovy. We're all set. Cover that dude up there. All right. Howdy, folks. My name's Dave. I'm a wood turner. I started turning as therapy for PTSD and found out I had a knack for it. I fell in love with it. I also fell in love with teaching it. So I started this channel to become a better demonstrator and a better teacher. The more I practice and the more I work with other turners of all skill levels, um, the more those rules and more of that information that I pass on to them gets repeated back into my own head. And then, of course, the practice is the key, right? So last night I turned. I think I'm starting a new segment, and so there's possibility you weren't here last night. Maybe you missed the video on YouTube. Oh, I actually didn't make it public yet. I got to do that tonight. So if you missed the live broadcast last night, I'm going to start a new segment. I save, and there's a lot of turners I know that do this. We jokingly call ourselves wood hoarders. Well, okay, half jokingly because we're kind of wood hoarders, and so all the scraps and pieces, parts, and pieces that didn't work out and whatever, I save those because if I see if it didn't explode, although some of those I save for resin projects too, or maybe kintsugi projects, but yeah. So I forgot I had some already broken pieces because I've been wanting to do some kintsugi. I've been collecting propolis from my apiary to use that as the binding agent as opposed to the urushi, which I understand is poisonous. And they're both tree saps. I mean, propolis is primarily plant saps, plants, which includes trees. So I figure if I can probably boil it down or render it down or however it's called, and turn it into a binder like that, that might be really cool. Another use for the propolis and things that sometimes just break off, and sometimes I remove from old hive parts. But anyway, I thought it might be neat to make my own glue. So I have this piece of here. Let's turn this camera down. Oh, and forgot to mention, I got, and this is the first broadcast that this is actually going to work. I tried to get it to work last week, and I couldn't get things. I don't know. It was all over the internet, and I just couldn't get things to work right. So anyway, Orange Dan 76 was on the broadcast last night in chat. And by the way, you should check out his channel, Orange Dan 76. He just recently did a pen turning demo of and finishing, CA finishing for the Detroit Area Woodturners Club, and he's got that video on his Twitch. So check him out. Anyway, he told me about a program called Speech Chat, sorry, is the name of it. And so I'm trying it out tonight. I have it set up. I wound up actually having to get some powered speakers because the the volume level, plus, I mean, it's an old laptop. It's 2011, but the volume level on this, it's an Apple product, only goes so high, and I don't want to overdrive it because the speakers are, from 2011 or so. So I went and got some powered speakers, and I've been playing around with this thing. I'll figure out a voice for it. I have to go through all the voices. I picked in the limited time that I had one that at least pronounces things properly, at least to the American ear. So because you all are going to hear it too. It's going to come over the mic most likely when people type in chat. It'll come over to me as speech, which is really going to be helpful. I won't have to keep trying to keep an eye on chat, and I can answer the questions or comments or whatever a lot more quickly this way. So um, once I get past a certain point and I look up, I see a comment, and then I really don't recall um, what the comment's referencing to necessarily. Sometimes the comment's a little vague, sometimes not. But anyway, let's turn some wood. What do you say? So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that coming over, so I can I'm gonna have to play with the volume as opposed to like the lathe, all the shop noises, and we'll see how that works out. So I've got this piece of cherry burl, and this came from Indian River. It's been seasoning now for let me think about that. 1, 2, 3, 4 years. 4 years, maybe 5. But this is one of the pieces that I gotten from the fellow woodturner in the club invited me up. He's also a veteran, and he invited me up because they had clear cut. And I gotta get that camera in the right spot. They clear cut an acreage, and then left behind what they call trash, as they do anything that doesn't make veneers or good lumber. And usually it's burls, root balls, stuff like that. So they leave all that trash behind. They don't do anything to clean it up usually. It's left to, the landowner or whatever, or just left there, so I do get wood from places like that, because even though they say it's not useful to them, doesn't make it not useful to a turner. All right, so this is, I've just got it kind of sort of between points. We're going to work on getting this thing to its balance point. But I want to assess this. So right now I can see, let's see if that washes that out. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I got a split here. There's a split there. As I said, this has been seasoning. Now the split here, and it's an interesting split. Actually, I'll just take this out, and I think it's partially because the way the burl grew, the way that the wood fibers and everything pulled, was that when this thing split on this end, this is toward the main part of the tree. As it's dried, it kind of, it's not quite a ring check, but it's a ring check because it delaminated on some parts there, and I don't know. It looks like there was like some bark possibly in there, and that's whatever that damage was. I'm assuming probably started this burl. On the other end, out towards the sky, I don't have that. So I've got this set to my tailstock and this to my drive center because I've got a wider footprint. Excuse me. It is a very, very solid wood, so I know it will hold real well. So looking at this also, it's got bark all over it, and it is, because it's a burl, and the bark is actually really, really attached itself very nicely to this. I'm going to wind up turning this away as opposed to trying to take the bark off with a chisel. But I did notice inside there's a bunch of little, let's see if I can get this in a spot. So you can see a hole there, a hole there, there. They're all over the place. So this has been hit by beetles. So there's a possibility it's dusty in there because it's been sitting for about 4 years. So I've got my mask. So I'm gonna put my mask on as I turn this because I'm kind of expecting dust to come out as I get past, or underneath the bark. Even though here they've clearly burrowed into the wood. as opposed to just eating the bark. But I usually find when I see that stuff, like there'll be beetle trails all in and around where the burrow actually is, and just dust underneath all this bark. So just paying attention to that. That's part of the assessment. I normally don't leave splits like this alone unless it's a denser wood and I feel that it's safe enough to turn. I don't know if I can get this to its balance point. We're going to try. Oop. Came off that point. Still heavy in the bottom. So I may actually wind up having to cut these at an angle to get a better hold on it. We'll see here in a minute. Okay, now that's the heavy end, and that's okay. There we go. And what I'm trying to do, especially for newer turners, is eliminate as much vibration as possible from the start. If I can get this on its balance point or right close to it, then I start off with less chatter and bouncing around, and so my cuts stand a chance of being a lot cleaner. Let's try that. But who knows? We may not get it. We may get close. I know that burrow part's going to be a lot heavier. So I may have to take some off of this face. Well, that was a positive direction. I'm going to grab my saw and I'm going to cut this at an angle really quickly. Let's move these things aside. I should also cover up the keyboard there. I know you're in here. Oh, yeah, I moved you over there. Okay. So this shouldn't take too terribly long. Let me get a block here. How about, you know what, that'll work. Yeah. Yeah, that wood is fairly dry, at least through the outs. Through the first 3/4 inch or so. But it was also, 3.5, not quite 4-inch diameter on this end branch. Come on. I used to have an electric chainsaw that I could do this with, but it gave up the ghost, and I never replaced it. It was a nice little iWorks, I think it was the name of the brand. Well, more to go than I thought. Come on now. All right, that should give me a good indication of where that line is. And we'll finish it off this way. Less chance of me banging the saw into the metal ways there. All right, let's put that guy away. I pulled out a couple of nice pieces here, but got to, oh, okay, yeah, so there was a lot of bark inclusion in there. I was right. Can't really see it. I guess you can if you really, really look close, but here it's a lot clearer. So that internal part was a bark inclusion. So that's going to be some interesting feature, but that explains why it split the way it did. So my guess was correct. Which is nice because there's a lot to this, man, and learning a little bit, you know, each time as I go, how to read the timber, you know, how to identify it, so on and so forth. Okay, so that means I should. I didn't quite cut it right. Nope, too close. Still too close, I think. I don't want to have my quill sticking out too far because that adds vibration. Whoops. There. Okay, so that needs to come up. I'm going to have to extend my point a little bit. I probably should do that now, actually. Oh, man, got to watch golly, and I remember his name is David. Let me look up his name because he's a really great turner over across the pond, as they say. I believe his name is David Albee. Surely I can find one very quickly. He does post a lot of stuff. Teaches wood turning and also a production turner. David Albee, yes, David Dalby, my mistake, Dave Dalby. Posted this trick on Instagram, actually. Usually I'm having to knock these things out with a knockout bar, and he showed me a little trick. I don't know why I didn't think about it myself. It's like so brilliant and simple. Just take some pliers and give it a twist, and or a wrench or whatever, and give it a twist. Now, I can't do that on the tailstock because I don't have any room between the spinny bits and the Morse taper, at least on this particular live center. But it's, it beating the hell out of the machine. And when I saw that, he's like, yeah, he's like, no knockout bar needed. I'm like, damn it, why didn't I think of that? That's awesome. I'm glad he shared it. So I'm sharing it with you. All right, let's get this beast up here. Okay, bring this side up. Whoops, that side dropped. Okay, still heavy in the bottom there. I'm going to move up this side since I have a better chance at hitting good solid wood, because I'm in kind of the area, sort of, where the bark inclusion was at. So I'm going to have to skip that over, I think, and see about getting it all balanced just from the tailstock side. Which I gotta say, I don't like doing. Let me straighten up this cut. That's what's kind of giving me fits, and I can't get that into the bandsaw, so yeah. So let me just do that real quick. See if I can find a better, how about a square block? Let's try that filler. So yeah, let's just take the time to get things set up. Best possible outcome we can get. Not long enough. Let's grab that guy. That's long enough. So I'll just straighten this out a little bit. In theory, it'd be nice if I could get this under the bandsaw. I could just buzz in there, cut it off, but the throat of the bandsaw just won't quite fit. I don't think I've found any beetle trails yet. I mean, I see some of the holes, but I don't think I've cut through any of them yet. And let's see what that's like. Feel like it's going to be top heavy. Okay. Let's go that way still. So I've got some good solid wood on this. Oop, too high. Tailstock end. Now. Okay, let's move this guy a little bit. I just want to err on the side of being able to turn this safely and not have to go through, a ton of, I don't have a lot of, I feel like I'm still going to be top heavy. I don't have a lot of big, what I want to say, commercial equipment. That might be a someday thing. Someday. So I got into the habit of, cutting things to length and all that, just so I could just throw it right up on the lathe without, too much extra work. Because otherwise it would just be, and I did do that when I started turning, was I'd cut everything by chainsaw to the exact this, that, and the other. And now it took like really a while sometimes. So now I try to turn it on the lathe, and I start between centers because that lets me move my center in different directions. Like if I find some groovy features, okay, that pop up that I couldn't really tell because, like in this case, the bark is covering it, then I can make the adjustments without starting off. Because if I started off in a chuck or a faceplate, then it's a little bit different story. This is more on the fly. And I guess, I don't know, man, I guess I kind of like doing that because every single, I went just a hair too high. Every single piece is like, I don't know, I say it's like Christmas. It's like opening up a Christmas present. Each piece is different. And so you may not necessarily, man, it's right in between. So I'm going to move it on the tailstock side. It's really close.
Coffee Stream Bot said, to Dave Life's Co-Fi page at https://co-fi.com/HIIMDAVE/ref=Twitch.
So there we go. It's working. So Chat's Life, I mean, if you have any questions or comments, please throw something in the chat. Now at least I can hear it, so I don't bypass any questions accidentally or miss it because the chat stream is so long, and maybe I didn't scroll back far enough. This way I'll hear them on the fly. So this is a good thing. Good improvement, I think. Okay, put the saw away. Put my little block away. Pen blank. It was a block today. All right, so I want to mark this guy. Because I need to take that point back a little bit. But I wanted enough pressure to get that indentation that tells me that's where that center went, so it'd be easier to find. All right, Dave Dalby, thank you, sir. It's just so much easier than banging on it. Dang. And of course, it makes perfect sense. It's a taper. Duh. So again, thank you, sir, for sharing that. I'm sure I'm not the only one that went, oh, duh. Okay, so that was my center. We're going to double check it anyway, but that was the center. Well, it's kind of making contact with that, but it feels fairly balanced here, so we're going to go with that. And we'll start off slow. Let's see, I do believe I need to rack that down a little bit more. Whoops. And let's make sure this dude's secure in here now. Of course, he did mention that the one wrench trick only works if you can lock down your spindle. If you can't, it's 2 wrenches. If you can get them in there. And he keeps what looks like a, well, it's not exactly a basin wrench, but it has very similar features, and the jaws are similar. It's just not as long, or at least what is called a basin wrench here in the U.S. It may be actually different, and that may be, in fact, a basin wrench. In the UK, I don't know. But he keeps that by the lathe so that he can pop those out when he needs to. It's like, dang, man. Okay. So I want to get this set up for my bowl gouge here. And I want my tool rest, which you cannot see at the moment. There we go. So I want the point of my tool, in this case, because how I grind my gouges is that the point is the entirety of the bottom of the flute. So it's a very wide, it utilizes the entire geography of the flute, this grind. Jameson grind, it's really not, it's a adaptation of the Ellsworth grind, which, you know, it all goes back. I have turned with the standard Irish grind, straight 60 degrees. I like that. That's a nice tool, nice grind too. But I stick with the Jameson grind most of the time. It's a pretty versatile grind. So we'll start this anyway. Sorry. So the where that flute is, the bottom of that flute, which turns out to be the point on my tool. Well, actually, should be on everybody's tool. The center of the flute should match the center of your front arc there. So I want it when the handle is parallel to the floor, that the bottom of the flute is at center point, typically. Of course, that changes depending on the lathe. You know, I mean, lathe, size of the lathe and all that, but that's generally what I do. So I'm thinking not much is going to fly off here, but there is some dust and like a little spider webby kind of thing there. So when everything's going to clear, right? So when I start this, let's put the glasses down. I think I'm at the slowest speed. If not, I will spin it down. This is a nice thing. This is probably the nice thing about a Reeves drive, is that as long as you turn the spindle, you can change the speed on it by turning the dial, as long as you're turning the spindle. So I'm all the way down to the slow speed this lathe can go. Let's see what we got. You know, it's not a lot of vibration. That's cool. I got pretty close. So that's a good thing. And then as I make my cuts, that will, you know, help balance things out some more. So I just want to take a look at, well, let's spin her up first. Okay, so not a lot of ghosting here. There's a little bit of ghosting there, like, you know, about 1.25 inches. There's a lot of ghosting here at the very end. So these are where I'm looking at that maybe I need to take away material. But before I do anything about the end, because I may need to shift, I don't want to have to make another saw cut to get a flat face. I'll work in here and we'll see what we get. Let's, I wonder if that's, yeah, that's sort of, let me drop the camera there a little bit. There we go. So I'm just gonna, I don't know, about half an inch in, see what we got. I'm expecting to find beetle trails, dust. I think I'm getting it already, so I'm gonna put my mask on. Yeah, it's just starting to come out. So I'm gonna throw my mask on real quick. Let's take a look here. Okay, yeah, so right underneath the bark there, I can't really separate the bark, but there's dust, beetle leavings back down in there. It's all dusty. Don't want to breathe that in. Okay, make sure all that clears. All right. So I'm just doing a standard push cut, straight in, straight back. It's how I use my bow gouge to rough out pieces. I don't own a roughing gouge. I did at one point, and I wish I hadn't gotten rid of it. I got rid of it early on because I didn't use it that often, especially after becoming a student of Lyle Jameson. And see here, there's beetle holes, but no real dust there. It looks like the bark is still really attached. So they may have just gone further into the wood, but we'll keep going. Yeah, I think it's because Lyle Jameson was my first mentor, so this is one of the habits I picked up. But it's really handy because I don't have to have a bunch of tools around the lathe, and that's what got me started, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what got me started on exploring the utility I can get out of all the tools. And sometime after that is when I started realizing that there was a lot more utility to that roughing gouge than I thought early on. So if I ever want one, I'll have to purchase it, but right now I don't have one. So my gut bark wanted to come off real easy. Oh, I was catching that. Okay. All right, so, oh man, that's really looking gorgeous. So we got to figure out what we're going to do here. I think, and yeah, that bark is just really, I may have to try to, knock as much off as I can, and maybe I can find somebody that's got a sandblaster that'll let me rent it or sandblast it for me for a fee. Let me rent it. I don't want to buy one right now. I don't do enough of this. So, anyway, let's see. I think I will take this down a little bit more. I want to get into here because I'm starting to see beetle trails right underneath the bark there. But it's still really solid. So, I'm curious to see what we find, and I want to clean this up. So, here we go. Let's check my centers. Whoops. Ooh, tighten down your banjo, tighten down your tool rest. Now, the nice thing about burls is that typically they don't really have a grain direction they prefer to be cut at. So the fibers are just every which way. So it does make it a little bit more difficult to cut through. But there's no, you don't necessarily, I do it out of habit. which is a good thing because you don't necessarily have to follow the ABCs, following, cutting down where there's grain support because the grain is just all interlocked. It's supporting itself all over. Okay, a little bit more assessment here. So yeah, there's all kinds of beetle trails, but surprisingly, well, maybe that might not be. That might just be the outside of the bark, but there are a bunch of little holes in here. There's one right there. There's definitely a hole. That's a big one. There's one. There's one. I don't know where that one comes out. It may come out up here, higher above it. Anyway, all right, cool. So it's looking like so far not as much dust as I thought there might be. I'm really looking at this, the way that it is set in here. I may actually, I think I'm gonna shift it because when I look at it this way, I see a beautiful hollow form in this shape. If I turn it this way, oh, that would be awesome too, man, having that void in there. So it'd be more like something up here. That might be a little tough to get through, but that's okay. I'll wind up using Lyle's hollowing system for this dude if I do this. And then this comes around, and then so the back side, you would see how the wood all comes together. Far out, man. That might be the thing. There's a big beetle gallery right there. That looks like that bark will come off. Let's poke around in there. Yeah, yeah. So there's the dust I was talking about. All the beetle leavings. Oh, you can't see that on that camera. Very, very fine stuff. Ah, there we go. There's a piece. There was a big one. So okay. Until I get through most of this, then I'm leaving the mask on. No big deal. It's already on now. And if it wasn't, I'd put it on. I made the mistake. I did actually make the mistake once. I'm going, oh, this won't take very long. I'll just, I think it was just cutting a little bit different arc. And so instead of putting my mask on, I just went ahead and did it. And true, it didn't take very long, but there's still so much dust. I wound up being stuffed up for like 2 days. So I think I'll pass. And who knows what's in, beetle leavings. I have no idea. I know it's cellulose, but what other waste products are in there that we get to inhale? So there's some cherry sap right there. Too bad that won't be staying in there too. All right, so we have confirmed the presence of beetle galleries with dust for sure. Let's see about. Okay, so a little bit of assessment. Again, the grain is all interlocked. So I got a split here, but if I look into that crack, I can see all the fibers are interlocked in that crack. Not so much this one, but that's more of a bark inclusion. So I'm not really worried about this split because there's still fibers holding things together. Same thing here. Same thing in that little tiny one. Well, let's take another look at that. Nope, that is just a bird's eye. And in this split, yep, same thing. So with burls, it's kind of like that. Like I said, the grain is all interlocked and interwoven, and even if you do get a crack or a split, if it's small enough, the fibers will still be holding together. Not that the grain necessarily. I mean, you may wind up changing orientation or whatever. It's not just that it's interlocked and you can get away with a little bit more, I think, with a burl. So with this burl, like, I wouldn't normally, well, back in the day anyway, I wouldn't normally have just turned it this way raw. But I like doing this, man. This is really fun because I can see where, okay, I may be off on that side. So let's just look at the burl side and see if I can get a beautiful vase shape out of that. The only concern I have is this right here, but if I take, well, I guess it depends on how I shape it. Let's get a little bit more detail. Let's see what we got. And I may turn it the other direction. In fact, it could be either way. No, that way. I mean, if I did it on this side, it would be more of a, although that wouldn't look bad, more of an open form, which actually might look really groovy. Decisions. Let's keep going. Well, I'm just looking at the ghosting right now. All the places where I said there was, an inch or so of ghosting that I really wanted to clear away. Now, I'm more thinking it's going to stay. Yeah, no, I think I want the top to be up here simply because of this guy. I want this to be up high instead of like on the bottom side where it's harder to see, because I think that's really going to be striking. So that means I really need to take a look at my shape here. Let's see. How do I want to do this? I could go with a slightly curved. That might be the best route. Let's see. A little bit more here. Now, when you're looking at, I mean, this is a smaller burl, but when you're looking at a bigger burl and you're kind of flummoxed on, like, where do you cut it? Where do you separate it? Like, if this is a larger burl like this, I might bisect it this way. So I'll have two large pieces of burl, but it depends on how things. So if I see a nodule on one end, I'll cut that nodule off because that'll turn into something down the road. And then it exposes some of the grain, and I can see more where the trees go on. So basically, and it's something that you pick up with experience too. So, it's one of those hop in there and see what you find, and you learn by experience. Okay, this is going to be a little tough here. Let's see. If this is the bottom, all of that's going to be open. Okay, so I guess, and there's not going to be any way to set this on a surface. So we will flip the hollow form 180 degrees, and this is now the top. And it'll be a more open hollow form, which is fine. Maybe I can hollow this around and leave this because that looks kind of groovy. The way that it folded and opened like that when it split. I mean, that is how the tree grew. Clearly, it's been that way for a while. So now I'm really not worried about it coming apart. So if I hollow just to the inside of this, then I could expose and leave this natural edge where it's at, which would be really groovy, and then work all the way the bark away and all that, and then still maybe get a sandblaster involved. I think that is the route to take. And I know that I can actually make a base down here. I won't really be able to do it here. So I forgot to check to see that that was going to clear. So let's see. I want to carry that through. And cut that without worrying about ruining that surface if I need to move it a little bit. This could be a really nice hollow form, actually. Okay. So it's going to be interesting. The bark itself, well, I'm going to cut into it a little bit more. I want to get like right into about, I don't know, 3/6, maybe a 1/4 inch deeper. But that will get rid of all that. You know, I'm gonna grab a chisel really quick. I want to see if I pry that up, what it looks like. Because I may want to keep that natural outer edge intact. That's a possibility. It's all about, getting the best possible piece out of the wood. It's not like the biggest piece, the biggest piece I can turn out of it or whatever. I want the best possible piece. So if that means that this winds up being this big, so be it. If that's the best possible piece I can get out of it. Oh man, lots of dust. I'm not really sure where the bark goes exactly, but I figure this area will be a lot smoother than where the burl is, because it's not all twisted grain. There we go. That's quite a deep little hollow. I think that may change. That may really change what I do with this guy. I may want wind up hollowing it all the way through and displaying it another way. Or I may just rotate this thing 90 degrees. But that's the beauty about starting off between centers, right? I can look at this thing and make movements, adjustments, whatever, to get things into position to at least, get in the ballpark of the best possible piece. Okay, let's see. Let's get rid of that. Thought I might have found a dead beetle or larva there, but nope. Okay, so eventually this bark will have to come off, but it doesn't have to right yet. I just need to spin it and see my shape happening here. So I won't really, unless I make this a smaller piece, which, as I said, I wanted to go about 1/4 of an inch further in, especially seeing this guy, that split. So I think I want to go about 1/4 of an inch deeper in. Let's do that. It's not quite 1/4 of an inch, but I wanted to get further down in there. And it's giving it a more slender profile, which is not a bad thing. All right.
Bob Ross, 61, said, just a little of the top like my happy barber always says. No Eastream Bot said, visit Dave Wife's OFI page at
Hey, Bob Ross 61. Hey, thanks for joining me, man. You are the first person who has activated my speech to chat setup here. So, and then of course the moderator bot jumped in right after you. But welcome. Yeah, just a little bit off the top. Used to joke about that in the military too. Just a little bit off the top, like all of it. Okay. I think I need to adjust this a little bit more. I don't know. Let's see. Let's really. No matter what I do, this is going to be either completely hollowed out or I will keep this. So this is going to be a void also. So as far as having a base, I'll either have to craft one specifically for this piece or figure out another way to display it. Because my base just isn't going to be continuous. This really won't want to support the weight of all of that on its own with this big void in it. Unless, I turn it down. That's an option. I can turn it down to where that's really not an issue. I'm looking at like how much of this I can actually save though, because this is really gorgeous burl. You see I got a split there, but you can see all the fibers are interlocked right at this stuff here is layered burl, and it starts off as a layered burl, and then the layer starts to do, the fibers really start to do weird things, and then it starts to sprout into these what we call bird's eyes. So often, when you find bird's eye burl, you'll find layered burl right next to it, and both of them are a lot harder than the normal wood. And and cherry burl, I have found, especially the layered part of it. If you're turning, I've turned a piece of layered burl cherry. It was just so stinking hard. I had to sharpen, like, I don't know, it was a lot. I had to sharpen a lot. So I think I can take this. Oops, let's make sure that's going to clear. Because I'm still not convinced I'm not going to change where it's going. As far as orientation. Not quite. So, Bob Ross, how's your day going so far, man? It's a nice, lovely, rainy Wednesday evening. The temperature's dropping fast, and it's going to snow at some point in the early morning. It's going to start snowing again. Thought we were done. Of course, it's still only March in northern lower Michigan. So, hoping that it doesn't drop a lot of snow. We'll find out tomorrow. Find out tomorrow. All right, so a bunch of really, really, really nice features. Actually, I also have another option. What I could do is I could clean all of the bark off of here, every single little last stitch, except for the bark inclusions. I'll leave those. And then do a resin pour. And that way I can create the entire hollow form in whatever fashion I want. It can be a closed form or not. So that's another possibility. I really like seeing this though. That's really cool. I want to try to keep at least this upper part. Oh man, this is like tough decisions here. So let's take, I think I'm going to have to take, well, so looking at the shape, it's got a nice taper this way, but I need to work up here. I'll have to go back and forth anyway until the final form, or at least what looks like the final form, is finished. But I also need to consider, do I hollow it from both ends? Do I turn this 90 degrees? What other options? I've got lots of options. I've got enough material that I could actually turn this on 3 different axes and get a triangle shape out of it to start with, which would be really wild. He says. And if I can get this face to be, or this to be a face, and the vertices of the triangle, if that's the right word, the angles anyway where they meet, would be somewhere in this area and on around the piece. That would mean that basically one of the vertices would come somewhere in here, Yeah, somewhere in there. That would be a nice void to have on the side anyway. This is the guy that's bothering me. This guy's bothering me. All right, well, let's keep going and see what we got. See what we come up with. Yeah, time to change my gouge clearly. It's not cutting as well as it was, so fortunately I've got 4 other ones lined up right here. Although I can reuse that one as a scraper if I need to. It's not the wings that are dull. Okay. So this thing hasn't really thrown up a lot of dust. I think I'm going to take the mask off. Yeah, I needed a sharp gouge. Okay. So I'm going to take care of this. Pull cuts like with any cut. You make them as aggressive as you want. You can pull off some really, really fine shaving. Or you can pull off some really heavy ones. Just like every other cut. But I'm refining the surface at this point, so I'm trying to take light cuts because I think I'm in the ballpark of the shape I'm after. Or the shape that appears, let's put it that way. It's not. Yeah, I think this is going to turn into a resin project, man. I think that is appropriate. So I'll need to spend time removing all this bark after I get the final shape down. Oops, don't throw that on a computer, Dave. There we go. Oh yeah, a lot of beetle dust there. Probably not surprisingly, not so much in the burl. I'm guessing it's because the burl is just harder wood. It's more along the branch part that was not damaged. At least not as much as like when this thing grew around what it, I mean, there was bark around it. It started growing around it again, so it took damage in there somewhere. Maybe a little bit up here, but yeah, I think this is going to turn into a resin project. I think that would look really groovy. Okay. So I'm going to do a little scraping first, and then I'll do some shear scraping, and then we'll consider whether we need to use some abrasive. So for newer turners out there, scrape, the handle is almost parallel with the floor. It's a little bit down. It's working on the lower wing, and you want to stay at the front half, so from the point back, only about half that wing. And you lay that with the flute almost all the way closed, not quite all the way closed. For one, you don't want the top wing to make contact. Not that that matters in this particular cut, because you can't get a cast. You just can't. But it could mark up the surface of your piece, and then you got to go back and clean that up. But you want to leave a little bit of gap so you can look right down in there and see where it's making contact with your material, and you can control that angle and pitch of the tool to really clean up the surface of any tool marks. And as I said, I'm in the habit of going where the grain is supported. I don't really have to worry about that so much here. Because it's a burrow, all the grain is interlocked. I'm just going through, knocking off all the high points, so it's a really, really light touch. I'm watching the ghosting up above here. It's a lot easier than trying to, I'm looking down the tool often to see that it's just that front half that's making contact, but I'm watching the results of the scrape up here. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, so I could do a little bit there. How does this look? It's another thing too, it can be a little difficult to tell exactly because sometimes you'll even get curl in there, so it might look like a tool mark and it's not a tool mark, but that's a tool mark. Plus, when I make a mold for this guy, or put it in a mold, I'm going to sand the outside of this just to have a uniform surface once I get the shape turned. I got a little bit of a tool mark there, so I'm going to clean that up. So after that, then I can put it, like I say, when I make a mold for it, I'll leave the branch ends so that I have some wood to hook into with my center points again. And then I'll turn it as a hybrid piece. Okay, a little bit right there. Oh, rain's really coming down, man. I don't know if you can hear it, but over the mic, but I sure can. In life, anyway. Oops, just left myself a tail mark to clean up. There we go. So just a really light touch. I'm just making enough contact to peel off the high spots. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to sand it too. So, and plus when I have the resin that's in the mold, I still got to get rid of this bark. But all that stuff that's underneath there is going to show up. It'll look like a void, but at least it'll be, you know, that resin. It'll look really cool, I think. And that will definitely be a void right there. Opens up a few more possibilities too, man. I might be able to, and it's going to be tough. I don't know how I would figure that out, but that's nice. There we go. That's why I'm getting that flapping sound. That was actually finally loose. How I would keep this shape here without having a, you know, what is that? Almost 3/4 of an inch of resin right there to keep this. But maybe ultimately I don't keep that feature. So I'm just going to get off what's easy to get off right now. Not you. That. Yeah, it looks like they, oh, there's a grub right there. Whoops. Oh, I dropped it. I don't know. Hopefully you saw it on camera. I don't know. But there was a snoozing grub in there I just pulled out. So they were still in here working away. At least one of them. And I don't know about you, but I've never encountered just one of them. All right, so that's a good start there. Let's see, can I get anything down here? Not really, without a lot of extra work. How about that? Yep, that'll work. Is that a grub? Nope. Just more dust. So yeah, they stuck to the regular wood of the tree. Again, I'm assuming because it was a softer thing to chew through. Oh, there's a grub right there. I think. Oh no, that's just a discoloration on the bark. Discoloration of the bark. Okay, groovy. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Let me finish. And that could be the neck of it, but I don't know. All right, let's straighten these things out so that making the mold is not too much of a pain in the butt. Plus, I can get around that corner a little bit more. bummer that's not good solid wood, but well, I'm going to wind up cutting off this larger tenon here. It's pretty well split, but I'm going to hold on to it because I still might be able to turn this as a finial or something. That'll be really, really nice with that burl wood in it. Oops, got out of the cut there. So you can see those are the shavings I'm pulling off with a scrape. Very, very fine because it's more, well, kind of, I've got it more in a shear scrape, I guess. But just to hit home that it's not a lot of pressure. It could be. I mean, if I, really needed to hog stuff off, but because I started with sharp tools and, well, we'll just say my skill level lets me start with a better surface, I think. Getting your surface prepped before you'd start having to do any kind of abrasive or finish work. Get the best possible surface you can get. Because it's only going to show through. So I'm going to take this shear scrape all the way across the surface of this dude. Again, I don't want the top wing to touch the piece. It's not going to make a catch. All it's going to do, if anything, is rotate your tool a little bit more. It's not going to do anything other than possibly mark up the surface. It's not a very, very set cut to make. The shear scrape, what I want that gap for is so I can see that it's only contacting that upper half of the bottom wing. And I have to follow the curve, so having that gap there lets me look down inside. I'm concerned about this in here. Oh, that'll sand out. Okay, cool. And then I'll hit this with 220 because I don't think I need to go any more than that, or any coarser than that. I met a turner from Florida. Got along with him really well, I thought. His name is Don. His last name starts with a G, and for the life of me, I cannot remember his last name. Really, really nice guy, well-known turner down there. I was taking a class. Actually, I think it might have been my first class at Aramont ever, and it was with Rudy Lopez, I believe. That may have been the second. I don't know. Anyway, very early on, for me anyway. So that would have been, 2018, 2019. And he stated, at least 3 bow gouges sharpened just for shear scraping. he'll go over that surface until it is as pristine as he wants it because of the sanding issue. He'd rather be turning than sanding, so he keeps those. Let's turn that the other direction. Keeps when he gets to to this point of this refining part or more. Well, English is just a terrible language. Um, Further along in the refining process, you're refining the surface. Shear scrape is typically the last thing you'll do. Could be a scrape. I don't know. Could be just a regular cut. I have no idea. But when you clean the surface like this and doing scraping,
Captain One said, "Hey, Dave Rive."
Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Obi? Got my text to speech thing working, man. So you are the second person that has set it off today. It's very, very cool. I got a tip.
Captain One said, "Nice."
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear the robo voice over the microphone, but the program I'm using, it's a browser program. It's called or the website is Speech Chat, no spaces, and you just set it up to link with your Twitch, and you have to have it open in your browser when OBS is running or Twitch is running. I think it will also sync to YouTube, but I don't know. I stream from here. And I wound up having to get some powered speakers today because the speakers on my laptop just are not loud enough for me to hear over this. It is an older laptop, but there's an option for you to get the text to speech started sooner on your streams, man. So Orange Dan 76 turned me onto that last night, and I'm playing around with it. There's a bunch of voices that you can pick from, although some are other voices from other cultures, right? German, Spanish, French. So some of the things aren't necessarily pronounced the way English would pronounce them. So I got to go through all these voices to find one that works. But this is the voice that I'm hearing, and you might be hearing over the microphone is the default first one. But it works, man. It's just cool. And this way, I got the speakers right here. I don't have to pay attention to the chat, like, have to stop and read it all the time. You know how that goes.
Kofi Stream Bot said, "Visit Dave Rive's Ko-Fi page at https://ko-fi.com/HIIMDAVE ?
Wow, man. But it reads the whole thing, whatever it is. Let's see. Do I want to rim on this guy or not? If I can keep this, which I don't know, man. I may not be able to. If I can keep that. Maybe man, I'm trying to figure out how I can save this in a resin pour without creating, an inch thick of resin just to have this. So I guess that's not going to happen. This is just going to be all open and all natural edge with this burl here. I'll have all the bark off, so I won't be able to save that. That's a bummer. But that also means it's not going to have well, I could have a rim. It would at least have the beginnings of a rim, and so give that perspective of having, rim shape when people try to visualize. And yeah, I'm going to keep that. Try to visualize, what's missing in the vase. Yeah, I think I'll keep that. So I need to adjust this curve a little bit. And hey, OB, if you're still on, man, I'll give you a call, but I'm thinking probably Friday. Come out to the shop, to Lyle's shop, if that works. And probably after your lunch break,
Captain
maybe.
Not One said, "Sound good."
I would think tomorrow, but since it's going to snow, I'll probably be moving snow instead. Uh, till 4 or 5, and so I could probably catch you after your lunch. Please remind me, you take lunch from what, 12:30 to 12 to 1:30 or something like that. I can catch you after. I'll just call you. You can tell me. Yeah, I'm on lunch. I'll be back at this time. Cool. Because I don't have any other plans Friday since it's not snowing, or in theory.
Captain Not One said, "I'm always here." Lol.
Yeah, it does seem like it. But that's where you're streaming from too, right? So a lot of time spent in there getting orders ready. And okay, so I'm gonna take this curve in a little bit more inward. Let's take a look at that. Okay, let's take one back here. That looks better. Yes, that is a better shape. Gives me plenty of material for the rim, or the hint of a rim, I suppose you could say. So just gonna do a little scraping and then a little shear scraping, and then I will hit it with P20 just because it's gonna be underneath resin. Can't tell. Okay, not a tool mark. My tool mark's over here. And I don't actually have to worry about that right now. One of those situations where curved tool rest might come in handy. Maybe someday. But I've gone this long without one. I guess that's not a good excuse. If it will help or speed things up, then maybe that might be something I should look into. I don't know how much I'd use it though. There's that. Okay, shear scrape. So that looks okay. Cool. It's looking nice. just this little bit left. Okay, you know what? I'm actually past the bark that had anything to do with dust, so I'm getting this mask off my face. I don't mind wearing it when I need to, but I don't need to. Ah, that was a little premature. Yeah, I do. Golly, man. I'm going to run the Greg Sander, aren't I? Yes, yes, you are. Right after you make this rim here. There we go. There's my center rest. So we'll shape this rim here. With a spindle gouge. Everything clears, yes. Whoops. Except we didn't check that, did we? Okay, this needs to be at the halfway point, so I'm a little too low. There we go. Half-inch spindle gouge needs to come up just a little bit. Let's see, I'm going to grab this guy that doesn't have a handle. Okay, that looks pretty good. And that's the only part that they're going to see. Well, I don't know, maybe a little bit of that. Maybe a lot of that. I don't know. This is definitely not going to stay attached, though, so that rim will all disappear. I'm pretty sure that piece isn't going to stay, so that will disappear. This will stay. So I don't know about this piece. This piece will probably disappear, too, and then it'll all be all that's left. But that's why I was turning it that way. Give it just a hint. Okay, mask time again. A little early, Dave. And the Greg Sander, and it's a 220 abrasive. How's this guy feel? All right, yeah. Time for you to go. Trying to consider whether or not I should. I don't know if it'll be cheap. It might not be cheaper in the short run, but because I buy my hook and loop races for the Greg Sander through Vince's Wooden Wonders. Really, really nice guy, but you know, if I can do this a little bit more or a little bit less expensively, and I primarily use 320, 320, sometimes 400 resin pieces off. You know, saying that, which reminds me, I need to go get some more 1015 and 2000 grit, 1500 and 2000 grit wet or dry sandpaper for the resin. Sometimes I'll go down to 150. It just kind of depends. But most of what I buy from them is for 220 anyway. If I can do this cheaper, I know the initial cost might be a little higher getting the punches and whatever. I don't know, man. That's what I've considered. I had a friend named Fish, and he made his own sanding disc by doing that same thing. He claimed to save, a good bit of money, but I still think the outlay for the punches was, well, I don't know, maybe not significant. I really haven't looked at it. I should. Anyway, I guess he's in North Carolina. North Carolina. So hey, if you're watching this, how's it going, dude? Heard you met or saw Joe. Visited with Joe at John C. Campbell. When he went down there to take classes from Rudy, I think it was Rudy. Yeah, well, took Rudy, one of Rudy's classes down there. All right, let's see what that surface looks like. Okay, do a little bit of work there, so I'll do that. No, I need to rework that surface right there. I got just a little bit of a hump in there for some reason. Hopefully it wasn't because this bit was softer and I sanded it away. That would be a drag. Although it is across a void, so should be kind of a little jumpy right there. Cutting all that air. Just barely felt it. It was just the tiniest bit of a hump. Maybe that took care of it. Okay, so that's my shape. I'm going to take this off the lathe. I'll get rid of all whatever the outside of the bark and the cambium layers. I'll wire brush all that out of there so that the resin makes contact with the wood as much as possible. Hopefully in some of these cracks, and it has done that before for me, in like where the bark is really thin, the resin will soak into it, and so inside these bark inclusions they won't be like crumbly or weak or whatever. So I can make a mold for this guy, pour the resin after it's all cleaned up, and then turn it again. And then that will let me have a full piece here. I don't know. I'll have to think about that some more. I may finish just turning it the way it is. This isn't going to support any weight. I could come up with another way to support this piece, this big void that's going to be here with this foot. I don't think is going to support the piece very well, and it's going to be hard to see that. It won't present very well if it is resin then at least you'll see that shape there after it's hollowed. I mean, there might, I don't know, man, it may not even break the surface. It's hard to say. I don't have to make it super thin either, but still, this much of the base will be missing. So I don't know how that would handle that, but there are other ways to support a piece like this. So I'm going to take it off the lathe, set it aside. I'll clean off all the bark. If I ultimately decide not to do resin and instead just stick with this open form, then that's not a terrible thing. It's going to be a pretty piece regardless. Okay, let's see. I think I can get some bark off there, and I can get some bark off there. The rest of it's going to have to be picked away. And that's going to take some work. Man, I don't know if that's rain or hail or what, man. Something's hitting pretty hard. Okay, that also means that, hey, I can take the mask off for a while. At least until I'm sanding or throwing dust up again. And take a water break. What are we doing for time here? 9:45. Cool. So like I said, I got a couple other pieces here off to the side. Let's move this guy away. That's going to be an interesting piece, I think. Cool. So let's see, where do we set you, dude? How about next to this lovely piece of red cedar? And yeah, let's turn one of them things. So I'm going to remove the bark off of this piece of maple as much as I can get off. Ooh, hey, maybe I'll get more than I thought. I put that chisel away, but this might help. Yeah, that definitely would have flown off very shortly after the lathe started. That wouldn't be any fun. All right. So, I think we'll see how green this still is. See, it's starting to split, but I think I'm gonna, it's got a little spalting too. That's cool. This is gonna be a Kuksa cup. It must be a Kuksa cup, I think. Let's put that away. That point is probably out a little further than it needs to be, so let's do the Dave Dalby trick here. God, I still swear, like, why did I not think about this myself? There's no banging on the lathe, man. I hated banging on the lathe. This was the only way I was going to get that out of there. Yeah, Dave, it's a taper. Let's see. There we go. Spin it out, man. Spin it out. Thanks again to Dave Dalby for showing that, posting that video on Instagram. So, got a half a log. We're going to start on the balance point. somehow I'm not sure that I might have made it the first go, man, but that doesn't happen often. All right, we'll go with it. Oh man, I just remembered. That's funny. I just remembered I'm still running the slowest speed my lathe will go. But I think that just goes to show you that you really shouldn't be hung up on like lathe speed and how fast someone is turning at. Go with what works for you. Well, since I really don't have any vibration, I think I'm turning at 600 now. Somewhere between 6 and 800. But it's just like what I'm comfortable at. It's what sounds right to me, what feels right to me. It's going to be different for everybody. It takes a little practice to find out where that is for you and your lathe setup. So I got a lot of splits here, but not really concerned about that as long as it doesn't get into the center. Working my way towards a bowl shape with wings that I can carve away to make a handle for this thing. I'm betting. Well, I'm not really having any splits. There's a little one right there. So on this side is probably where I'll carve the handle out of since there's no splits here. Okay, maybe I don't have to hog off so much. All right, let's see what we got. So the splits look like they stop right in here. What do we got here? That's not a split. At least I don't think it is. I still have to true up the face, so I'll leave it about that thick for now. But why can't I hog it off? Ooh, there it is. Not cutting air anymore right there. Alright, so I need to take this down just a little bit more. Well, let's see. I can get a really good hold on that as it is if... Uh-oh. Oh, well, I have to walk around to get outside the lathe. It looks like even that little bit of vibration removed some of my tools. Oh, ouch, from the lathe, unless I put them all away, but my chuck, one of my chucks is down here. No tool handle. Well, that must be the only thing that dropped down then, except for my glue blocks. So let me look in my tool rack here. Oops. Hopefully I'm not knocking the camera around by moving these curtains. Let's see. Oh yeah, I did put it over there. Okay. So that's good solid wood. It's going to let me use more of this chunk of maple to make the actual cup. So that's nice. Let's see, I need to take this down. And okay, it's still a little bit of green, so this is going to be a twice turned Kuksa cup. Okay, that's fairly straight. Which means I get to go against the grain on that, since it has to be turned again. So now I can rip that in the chuck. We can face off the face there. Oh man, I got a little shaving right at the back of my throat there. Excuse me for a second. I think that got it. So yeah, let's flip this around in the chuck. We'll true up the face, hollow it out a little bit. I want to leave it a little bit thick because it still is going to move a little bit. It's very definitely still kind of green, which I guess if I think about it, it makes sense since we got this just a little bit before winter came. That's okay. I've got a whole rack of these drying.
Kofi Stream Bot said, visit
Dave
Dave
Rice,
Rice's co-fi page at https://co-fi.com/HIIMBAVE ?
I can't wait to listen to the broadcast, see how that sounds coming over the microphone. I could have well, I don't want to wear headphones, wired headphones, because then I got a wire running around, and I don't want to use any wireless earbuds or anything because I think I'm being inundated enough with cell radiation and all that stuff. I think we all are. It's enough. I don't need to carry it with me 24/7, have it stuck in my ears and all that. I think that's kind of scary, actually. So let's look at these splits again. All right, so yeah, all right, so this split's going to continue all the way to the top there. Once I get this faced off, this should be all right. There's no pith left in it, but there's no splits on this side, so this is where I'll carve the handle from when it gets to that point. Yeah, I could have made that a little smaller. So yeah, that's all I'm going to do is, I guess, essentially making a peeling cut, right? Because the grain's running this way. So essentially, the push cut I'm going to make is a peeling cut. Although, I don't know, man. I think it might make more sense to go where the grain is supported, so... And then... just take a scrape across that to clean off any of the high tool marks. I want to get rid of sharp corners so that as it's drying, those sharp corners won't be able to split because they won't be there. I'm already dealing with issues from splitting on this side. Turn right I needed. Thank you very much. Already dealing with those splits. So if I leave a sharp corner there and think about it, be like that. That tip is going to dry out faster than what's underneath it. So that wood movement could possibly cause a split. So if you take that tip off and you chamfer that edge, you have lessened the possibility of creating splits just from the drying process alone. I don't expect that these edges here will split or do anything weird because this is the outside of the tree. The grain is running this way. So if it does split, it will split out here on the end grain as opposed to the side grain. I need to take a little bit more off here, I see now. See if that got rid of that. Oh, just a little bit left. So rechamfer those edges. Just a quick little scraping action. Yeah, nicely rounded. So that'll work for me. So now I can actually hollow it out a little bit. You know, that one I do actually have to knock out, which I knew was the case anyway. There we go. Move the tailstock out of the way. There we go. So I don't need to do much here. I mean, it's going to have the inside bowl shape, but I want the wall thickness to be basically this right here. Because this is maple, it's not super green. It has started the spalting process, so it should dry out fairly quickly, but not so fast, with these edges anyway, that it's going to split. But as long as I keep it thicker than where my end result is going to be, it can do whatever movement it's going to do before, during the drying process. And then when I turn it, it won't have that issue anymore. Just drop this tool rest just a little bit. I can see where a bowl scraper really come in handy for, and I have used one for this purpose too. So it really come in handy for this bit. Just double check my depth here. One more time. So I can go a little bit deeper. How about my wall thickness there? And a little bit thinner there too. Now I got enough room to get my tool rest in there. So I'm not hanging off the tool rest very far. That'll do. So it's roughed out. Now it just can dry. Do its drying process. I do need to take that wall thickness down a little bit. I want the drying process to be as even as possible all the way around the piece. There we go. Look down on there, that is. Yeah, it's about the same, so cool. That's done. And that's all there is to twice turning. Roughing out the shape, making sure you've got fairly even wall thickness. I do not right there. Well, we're going to fix that right now. All right, so I'm going to grab my little bowl scraper here. I think, yep, I did bring it over. So it's got a nice burr on it, so I left myself a gift. That might be better. As I said, the trick is, whoops, somebody's called me. The trick is, hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I was asked to bring out a couple more bags of ice melt when I go out to remove some snow tomorrow. Uh, when I when I was watching the weather, had to make sure I got that sharp edge too. When I checked out the weather earlier, they were talking about maybe an inch, and now it could be 6. That's insane, man. Is that a little too thick? Yeah, that's a little too thick. So, guess wow. Wow, man, 6 inches of snow. I wish they would stop with the spraying of the skies. Stop this geoengineering. This winter has just been insane. Crazy. And I don't believe people when they say, oh, this is normal. I mean, granted, I've only lived here for, how many years now? 13? 12? Let's see. Moved here in 2013. Okay, in February. So, at the very beginning of February. So, 12 years. And, yeah, this is nothing like the last 12 years. And this isn't even like, I don't know, it's weird. It's very weird, very strange. All right, put this guy on the drying rack. And I've got this chunk of maple. Looks like some of that bark can come off. We got 10:15. All right. Some of that will come off fairly easy. That's insane, man. I've got to check the weather report. That's craziness, man. From 1 inch, maybe up to an inch. Oh my goodness. Winter weather advisory. 2 to 4 inches. This one says. and winds as high as 50 miles an hour. And then this one says 1 to 3 inches. So we're going to get a couple of freaking inches in, apparently. And maybe some snow tomorrow, too. Wow. 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 It's crazy. Winters don't happen like this here. At least not historically, from what I have been able to glean. And I get it, it's March, it does snow. I mean, I've lived in Colorado a number of years. I've seen snow in July. In Colorado, I've seen it here. In June, anyway, not July. But it was, a very light snow that disappeared rather quickly, and it wasn't like 6 inches out of the blue. I try to watch not just I don't try to watch just the local weather report. I watch the radars for the whole country to kind of try to, as an amateur, try to track the storms as they go through. I do see. It looks pretty apparent to me that because I've also lived in Tornado Alley, and now it looks like Tornado Alley has shifted to east. And if that's the case, then I'm guessing, and I'm not a meteorologist or whatever, I'm just a guy, right? So I'm guessing that the desert areas like Colorado, Utah, California, Nevada, all those are going to get even warmer and drier. And then the people in Tennessee, Kentucky, Carolinas, Georgia, Bama, Florida. Well, Florida already gets hurricanes, but I'm talking tornadoes, and that whole Tornado Alley thing looks like it's moving east. And how long has Tornado Alley been right up through the panhandles and all that? Like for most of our history here in the U.S. anyway. Consider the Dust Bowl of the early 1900s. That was all that, and it was over farming too. But the reason it became such a Dust Bowl is because it's Tornado Alley. Everything just got kicked up by the winds because they overfarmed. They didn't have good farming practices, and that's what caused the Dust Bowl issue. It wasn't, some freak weather or whatever. It was us. Okay, let's take a look at this guy here. Nice piece of maple, odd shape. I'm not sure what I'm going to see. I got splits. So I always want to try to assess what's going on here. So I got splits going all the way through here. So this top 2 inches probably needs to be turned away. Let's start off on the balance point and start working our way towards cleaning this up. Oops, that's too close. There we go. And I know that's not going to be the balance point. It's going to be heavy down there. Let's bring this up. Still heavy on the bottom. Bring this one up. Went a little too far. So we'll bring this guy up. Ever so slightly heavy right there. Bring that up to there. Might have gone too far. So bring that there. So this is going to be a tricky one, I guess. That's all right. Bring it up just a hair. Oh yeah, this one's going to be a tricky one. So it might still be, I know it's an odd shape, but it might still be a little green even. So I've got like a water pocket. Okay, got it. And we'll go to the larger tool rest as well. Let's make sure our piece is secure in the lathe. And I think I'm still turning at somewhere between 600 and 800 RPM. So that means, I mean, I could turn it down if I need to, but since I've got it on the balance point, I shouldn't need to mess with my speed. Let's make sure all this clears. Almost no vibration. So yeah, these splits have got to go. It's interesting how that's actually splitting. It's splitting along where there's some ripples in the tree. The outer surface, I'm wondering if there's going to be some curl in there. That's where it's splitting, is along those ripples. That's interesting. So I practiced this cut enough times, knowing I've got to go. It's a push cut, so I need to go straight in and straight out. That I've got my anchor, my bevel set. Nothing is moving, and nothing as far as my hands or whatever is changing. The tool is just moving, taking bites as I go down, so I don't really have to. I've got the muscle memory in there that I don't have to watch the tool now. I just watch the shadow, the ghosting on the upper side. Let's see. I don't know how much of this is actually even going to be usable. We'll find out. And here I'm cutting through one of those splits. That's why it sounds kind of like a playing card in a bicycle tire. Get rid of that. Don't want my knuckles knocked over that. So at least the split stop like this depth. Well, maybe there's more usable material than I think. Yeah, this is still fairly green. I'm getting some slightly wet shavings off this piece of timber. And once I get past that point that I'm cutting there, oh, there's that split. Then I get continuous shavings. Yep. Yep, there's one of the splits. Took that right off. So I may rotate this piece just to, let me see where this line goes. Let's see, that looks like that stops right there. That looks like that stops right there. Let's see, let's just connect all these dots here. That one really goes there. This goes down to there. I'm going to say that goes down to there, but it may even go further. So, taking the general shape of this, looks like there's about 1.25 inches or so that could come off this surface. Yeah, that'd make a nice piece with the grain being sideways too. Oh yeah, there's definitely some curl in there. Let's clean this up just a little bit with a pull cut and see. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to find a voice that sounds like all of the announcer voices on Gauntlet. That's what I'm going to do. I got to find that and see if I can get that in there. Oh, shut the food, because it sort of sounds like that already with this particular voice profile. I think that would be great, man. I think my kids would get a kick out of it because I, played video games with them when they were growing up, and Gauntlet was a great way to get a couple of us together and play it, and just to make jokes about the announcer's voice. I can't remember the name of the speech chip that they used for it. But I used to make those voices like, "Elf, shut the food." Stop it, Dad. Elf is getting very hungry. Yeah, so there's some curl here, there's some curl in here. So I think that's interesting, man, that it would do that. Of course, it's also going to be about the depth of what this cut is, so that may be the deciding factor. So actually, I can't use this stuff. So, instead of turning it sideways, Oh yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna grab my skew and just do a bunch of peeling cuts, but I've got splits, and I don't want the edge of the skew to get caught in those. Maybe it wouldn't be an issue since the splits are at an angle instead of being straight across, perpendicular or parallel to the waves of the lathe. See, splits. So yeah, I'd have to get rid of all this anyway, but if I turn it sideways, I would have, oh, that split goes further. You know, no, I'm not going to turn it sideways. We'll just have to turn that stuff away. Now, do they come through the, yep, they still definitely come through the surface there. And the tool is getting dull, but I'll just swap my tool steel out here in a second. Getting lots of nice shavings though. Gotta love that. Alright, so now I've got this. So let's see what happens. Before we can see what happens, let's change out the tool steel. Not giving me consistent cuts. That's a clean guy, right? No, that was, or was this the scraper I was using over there? Yep, that was the scraper I was using over there. So we'll grab this tool. There we go. Nice and shiny and sharp. So I thought maybe rounding off the bottom would get rid of these splits. But I might need to go a little bit, well, clearly I'm going to need to go a little bit deeper. What's the happening here, man? Okay. Thought maybe my... Oh, so much nicer. Oops. The splits let go right there. Alright, do. Looking for the splits. There's a split. That one's almost gone. I think they're all almost gone except for this guy. So let's keep working this way. Wow, man. I don't know if it's the curl in the wood that's taking me around the... really nice shaving. Did that get rid of it? Why, it does appear so. Okay. Bunch of little bunch of little shavings. Yeah, there's all kinds of curl in this thing. Okay, so what am I making out of this? Does the split come up into here? Hey, don't be doing that. All right. And now I need to. Ooh, what's that? That looks like a beetle hole for sure, right there. Let me tilt up the camera a little bit. I'm a little bit out of the screen. Yeah, the center. I thought I was in the center, so there's a. Maybe that'll help it come out, but there's a beetle hole right there. Man, that's some really nice maple. Not a lot of, figure. I mean, there's some curl to it, but not a ton. Oh yeah, it's still definitely a little green, man. It's a dream to shear scrape and straight. All right, so I got to come up with something because I don't want to leave it like this and then have it split again just because I didn't do anything with the wall thickness. I can hold it in the chuck with that guy. Get rid of all that. Okay. My spindle gouge here. All that's going to clear. Hold for the chuck. Let's see, I think I will cut it off right there. And then, oh, but while I've got it here, oh, this is going to be a twice turn piece again too. Never mind, I don't really need to worry about trying to sand this yet, but I do want as good a surface as I can get. Always, always. Okay, so let me saw this off. We'll swap over to a chuck. And that'll just be, you know what? That'll be a nice natural edge box if I can leave all that. If I turn this a little bit sideways, yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to move my center. I'm going to move my center that way because I actually have material here I can glom onto. And what this is going to do is throw me out of whack so that, excuse me for a moment. So I get an angled, that's not much of an angle though. I get an angled, it's like a quarter of an inch, an angled top. And then the lid itself, I'll inset down inside so the back wall of this angle shows up and the front edge of the lid is hidden. Well, actually all of it's hidden, but yeah, that's good enough. Pardon me for a moment. I need to clear the schnoz. Alright, so I just need a smaller tool rest for this part, which I put right over here. Make sure that's going to clear first. That's the high point. Okay, so I'm creating a, an artificially, still doesn't look like much. Oh, there is a split right there. Doesn't look like it makes it to the edge though. Let's take a look at it here. So there's the split. And looking at it in several different lights, it looks like it gives me about maybe a quarter of an inch to the edge, so I can hollow this out and let it dry and then turn the box. Yeah, that'll work, I think. Or maybe I should take it down. Let me take it down a little bit more. Because the deeper I go into that side, the more I take that split away from the outer edge. And I want as much wall thickness as I can actually pull out of this because, again, it's going to be twice turned. I need to leave. Where are you? Will you have me believe that you are turned away? I don't know. Ah, looks like the trace of it right there. I can keep that in mind. Those are rays. Yep, there's a trace of it just right there. So Let me get a little bit closer to the light source, or this light source will work. Okay, so now I've got about 3/8 of an inch to the outside edge. So that is going to be plenty enough for me to go ahead and cut this off, put it in a chuck, and hollow it out. I'm doing this as a twice turned box, so I'll have to turn it again to true everything up. I could leave it as a hollow form like this, a vase, but no, I think I'm going to turn this into a lidded box. Why not? So let's cut that off. Oh yeah, that's still green. It's going to move some. There we go. I know a lot of people will. I got a little bit more saw work to do. Part stuff all the way off. I've talked about it before. I don't typically part things all the way through because it can tear that end grain and create a divot that then you have to sand away. I'd rather cut it off clean. It's not to say I never do, but I typically don't. Depends on the wood too, and like super dense wood, it wouldn't be that big a deal. Cocobolo maybe seasoned honey locust, but definitely like cocobolo or things of that nature would not be so bad. There we go. No banging on the lathe. God, I love that, man. Such a simple, brilliant idea. Like I say, glad he shared it, because obviously I didn't think about it. Or think of it.
76 said, "Hey, Dave.
Hey, how's it going? I don't know if you heard that over the microphone. Thanks for turning me on to speech chat. I got that set up. I've got to go through all the voices to pick one, but I was just making a joke about trying to download a voice that was similar to, I don't know if you ever played Gauntlet, old video game, but that voice, this one is kind of sort of similar, so it made me think of that.
76 said, I heard that you'll have the TTS. That's great.
Yeah.
It makes it easier than trying to read the chat in the shop.
Absolutely, man, and I don't have to try to keep part of my attention on the chat and not miss a comment or a question or whatever. I can address it right away. So I really appreciate that. It's working out really well. I had to get some powered speakers because the speakers in my laptop, it's a Mac, so they don't go that loud. But plus, it's also a 2011 computer. Hold on one sec. Goodness gracious.
Orange and 76 said, anything I can do to help. The same as most of the other streamers. I learned about this site from another streamer.
Okay. Cool. Well, I passed it on. I'm talking about it today to, in this particular broadcast, I'll be passing it on. I just passed it on to a buddy of mine who's starting to stream. What does he go by? Captain OB7, I think. And he hasn't. He was looking at getting, I don't know, specialized text TTS stuff and whatever. And I just told him today, dude, this is working really well. It's free. You should try this, man. But yeah, thank you. So let's hollow this guy out. Get past this. Whoop. Yep, she's green. Squirted right out of the chuck. Oh, goodness. Okay.
Orange N76 said safety third.
Yeah. Say, what did it say? Safety third. Yeah. Yeah. Always got to check that. I had that in there pretty tight, but that squirted right out. Jeez, I got a piece of. Let me take a drink of water.
Orange N76 said, did you have a chance to look at my VOD from the DAW?
Yes, I did. I was just going to mention that before I took a drink of water. I had a piece of shaving in the back of my throat. It's bugging the crap out of me. Yes, I did. I thought it was a good video. I didn't realize they had such a big area. Is that like a school that they're doing? Because I saw the stage and the way that you had it set up. And it looked like that, yeah, I mean, they did the club business before you got started, but yeah, I did get a chance to watch it. I thought it was nice. It was a good video.
76 said it's a church.
Ah, okay. All right, so this needs to come up some. Let's see, let's try that. Well, that would be. Well, gonna bring that up a little bit more. I thought I went perhaps a little too high, but I did not. I'm seeing the stage and all that, and it's arrested in a way. It kind of almost looked like a school gym or school auditorium, sort of. This dude does not want to bore in today. Let's see. I'm only about halfway down.
I think they have school type rooms in the building too.
Oh, okay. That'll work. Very cool, man. I didn't know they met in a church. I've not been to a DAW meeting yet. I definitely would like to at least visit, if not do a demo for the club.
So we can hold classes again.
Ah, okay. We, I guess you could say, yeah. I mean, we're at the. I don't know if you've been to a meeting up here for Traverse City, but we meet in the tech center, and part of our rent is that we send people during the week to teach students how to turn, and I've done that for, oh gosh, this year I had to start. This winter I had to step out, but I've been doing it since 2016. And a couple of those students, actually, yeah, several of those students.
76 said, I've not been up that way in decades for law, and never for turning.
Never for turning. Well, if you are going to make it up this way sometime, give me a shout, man. Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. That'd be nice, yo. A lot of people up during the summer anyway like to ride their bikes, their cycles up here. Cycles, bikes, motorcycle. There. I want to ride my bicycle. Actually, I just want it not to snow, but it's too late for that. We are definitely going to get, and I think it's falling now as I speak. I can't see it. Let's move that tool rest in. No windows on the garage here, but I'll be looking when I'm done streaming. But yeah, that was the first thing I did, man. I got my dinner all set, and then I had another buddy say, "Hey, man, can you get online with me?" I'm like, "Nope, I got to do this first." And I watched that, and then after that is when I checked out, and I wanted to leave a comment, but it was a video, so I don't know how to do that yet, if that's even possible. Maybe you can only do it when it's live. I don't know. But after that is when I went to check out Speech Chat. To see if it would even work with Mac, and turns out it doesn't matter. It's in the browser. Okay, deeper in. Yeah, I definitely feel the same way, because I've gotten quite a bit too. I think it's been a great community, and I really appreciate all the help and support I get. I try to pay that forward because, oh man, it's been really cool to get to know some of these people, yourself included, and that we would not have met otherwise. And come to and to see that in general, nothing's ever 100%, but in general, the whole streaming community here on Twitch seems like, they actually give a shit about other streamers, so it's really cool.
Just lurk.
You can set it so when people. Oh, you can. Oh, cool. Thanks. I did not know that, because I always, every once in a while, I'll check chat just to see who's kind of hanging around. I didn't know that you could be notified. That I'll have to look into that, because that's going to get turned on, man. That way I can like shout out to people too who might just be lurking, just throw questions out like, hey, Sebe, I see you're hanging out there, man.
Cool. Yeah, I like the function.
That's very, very neat. I see you hanging out there, man. Speak up. What do you think about this? Alright, I'm going to change to my bowl gouge here because it's a thicker tool. That vibration is really making my tool chatter because it's thin and it's, hanging way off the tool rest. That's good enough right there. I think I'll take my bowl scraper in there just to clean up a little bit, but that's good enough right there. And this piece is done and ready to go on the drying shelf to finish its drying process. Knock off all the high points there. So I was sitting there with my burrito and the hot sauce and some chips, a little drink, and just watching that. That was it was cool. I wasn't expecting. I will be honest. I wasn't, because I know you said you did it for the DAW, but and our club does this too. Well, they'll do all the club business first. When I was president of this club, I'm past president of the club here. I stopped all that nonsense, and we'll do the club business after the demo. Let's get whoever the demo person is up there now. That's why people really want to come. They don't want to come and listen to our club has $27 in the account and everybody is late for blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So, but that's not the way it is right now. I think that might change. We've got Pat Carroll, I think is his name, coming up next month to do demo and classes here. I'm going to be supplying my body and a spare lathe while he's here. I mean, I'm not the only one in the club doing that, but be helping out during the classes.
Right?
Yeah. He happened to be down in Grand Rapids, and I think our president kind of because he's a member down there too, and he went, "Hey, he's going to be down there. It's not going to be that much for him to come right up on here and in Traverse City, an hour and a half away, and do demo for us." And then we talked him into giving classes too. So there's that. All right, so that is
Orange and 76 said they talked about him being in Grand Rapids, and you can see him at Woodcraft for free.
Oh!
Orange and 76 said at our meeting.
See him for free at the meeting or at Woodcraft? I don't know. I didn't quite understand that. Sorry. So he came down to your guys' meeting too? That's cool. Okay, so that's done. This goes on the drying rack now. We're a little bit past 11, but good place to stop. Fairly even wall thickness all the way around. That's key for the drying so that everything moves together and dries out at the same rate.
No, at our meeting, someone said that next weekend he will be in Grand Rapids at Woodcraft.
Okay.
Woodcraft can't charge for it, so it's free for anyone that goes.
Okay. Well, I've been to the Woodcraft down in Grand Rapids for Let's see. What did we go down for? I forget what class we were going down there for. It was resin, and molds and stuff like that. And we left early because we were not impressed by that particular presentation. But that's cool. That's very, very cool. Okay, that goes on the drying rack. Let's see. That means it goes up here. Alrighty, so let's swap this camera. Man, I got wood shavings everywhere today. I love it. Oh, and my camera.
Orange and 76 said, I taught a stabilizing and casting class last year.
Oh, nice, nice. I still actually have a piece floating around here somewhere. I think it's in that bucket right over there. That was stabilized with cactus juice. I had a really, it turns out it was a fence post, a 6x6 fence post that apparently they put in green. And so it's spalted.
Orange and 76 said, cactus juice is the same product that I use Firstables in.
Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, this stuff spalted and got a little bit punky, but it was such beautiful spalting. We had a guy in the club that worked with cactus juice a lot. He's not really turning anymore, but so we did a deal where he would because cactus juice is freaking expensive. So he said, "I'll tell you what, because I had a 3-foot section of it." He said, "I'll tell you what, I'll do it if you give me half of that." I'm like, "Done, do it." So I had a piece I turned out of that, what I had left, and I've got another piece left that's just been sitting around. It's interesting because the cactus juice, yeah. The cactus juice, like when you're turning it, it's more like you don't get shavings, right? You get dust and stuff like that. But still, it turns out into a really, really nice piece. And I got a really nice little lidded box out of the first chunk. And I know he made some pens out of the stuff and some other things. So we were both happy. It was worth the trade. Yes, sir. All right. So that wraps it up for me. I'm going to call it a night. I've got to get some things ready for tomorrow. Looks like I might even be shoveling here in about an hour. So go out there and I don't know. We'll see what the snow situation is like. I really
Orange and 76
was hoping.
Said, it's better than turning solid resin. I hate how much they twist around the lathe.
Yeah. Yeah, solid resin definitely makes a mess. That's for sure. But I mean, you can get some nice pieces of that too. But yeah, I made a broadcast. I think I did last week. I had like a 30-foot long resin shaving. I peel off. I do an pulling cut, and I got a really nice shave. So this is what's nice about resin. But this is about the only thing that's nice about resin is you get these really long streamers. All right, folks. I appreciate you joining me this evening. I'm going to end the broadcast on that note. I've turned all the pieces I picked out to turn today. Stay tuned for next week's scrap turn. I don't know. I got to come up with a title for that. So we'll have another thing I turn out of scrap pieces, and then we'll get trucking along. I am now streaming it onto Instagram. So this video is live on Twitch. It goes to Instagram, and then I upload to YouTube. So if you miss any broadcasts or you want to catch past broadcasts, go to my YouTube. It is links in the bio, but I'll just throw this in here right now. youtube.com/@thisguy. And that's one too many D's.
Dave Rive said, youtube.com/@Dave_Rive.
There we go. So you can catch all the past broadcasts there. I've got to make, I uploaded several last night. I need to do just a little bit of editing, I think, and then they'll be made public. So this one is going up to, I'll upload this tonight, and I'll just do everything in a batch. So, in case you just come in the last part of the broadcast here, my name is Dave. I'm a wood turner. I started turning this channel to become a better demonstrator and a better teacher, a better turner, always working to be a better turner. And I have found that working with the turners, I know work with turners of all skill levels. The more I reiterate the things that I've learned and the things that I continue to learn and pass on, the more it gets cemented into my own head. And then I come and practice it. And that's the secret sauce right there, is practice. So thanks for joining me. I hope you stay friendly. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope it's not snowing and cold as hell and all that stuff down where you are or wherever the heck it is you are. Unless you like that kind of thing, I'm over it. It's March. Let's move on to spring. Uh, and I hope to see you next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Keep an eye out for when my schedule change. I do intend adding probably 2 more streaming nights just so that I have enough time. I mean, I can do longer than a 3-hour stream, but if I keep it down to 3-hour blocks, I think it's probably more manageable for people to watch videos, to say, I can sit down for a couple hours, not 6 or 8 or whatever. I mean, they can always pause the video, but this way they can just take it in chunks. And so I can do an entire project and walk people through the entire, how I do what I'm doing, and get an entire project all the way to finished. Instead of like doing one week and then bringing it back finished, I get to go through the whole thing. So that's my plan. Keep your eyes and ears open for that. Thank you very much, everyone, for your support. I really, really appreciate it. I do everything I can to reciprocate because this is a really, really cool community. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your evening. I'll see you all next week. Good night.